one player who will embody this season for KKR is Rinku Singh. I
He
mean,
was a
that
star of the IPL. Yeah.
31 runs in 1 over. I don't think we'll see it ever again. If we are we'll be pretty lucky to see it again, but this guy became the Terminator. He was like whenever he was there, there was this hope right at the end that okay, Rinku hai to kuch bhi ho jayega. Crowds are shouting Rinku, Rinku, Rinku. So it was one of the most heartwarming stories. I really enjoyed the way he batted, his attitude, and good batsman. He can
Hmm.
play. He's not a slogger. He can slog, but he's a proper batsman. He can also play that consolidation game when required. So very good find for KKR and for Indian cricket also. I would be, I would say that give this guy a chance because he looks the deal, the mental attitude, and
Right. And
just
very humble also, right? I
yeah,
never
that's
see him
what
come across
endearing
as
quality.
arrogant, always
Mm.
willing to learn. And now there is an interesting saying, if there are 18 runs needed of the last three balls, the
The
pressure is on
pressure.
the bowler. So you can imagine the kind of impact he's had on this IPL, really.
I remember the other joke to that. If there are 36 runs required of six balls, the pressure is on Chris Jordan.
I would like to see a face-off between Jordan and Rinku Singh sometime. Jason Holder, I think in the auction
Mm.
we were happy that they finally
They
got an
filled
all-rounder,
that gap.
because
Mm.
this is one team which plays
Mhm.
specialists, right? The six batsmen can't bowl, the five bowlers can't bat. So
Yes.
Jason Holder was the key to hold both pieces together, but he went totally off the boil, and they'll have to look at a good overseas all-rounder next year for
Credit
sure.
to them for Pooran. I think that's one thing we discussed in our auction analysis that who spends 16 crores on Nicholas Pooran? Well, that punt really worked because they
Correct.
found this role for him at number six that you go and just hit. You don't
Yeah.
need to worry about anything in life. So he gave it in that 360 runs at around 170, 180 strike rate. Incredible. So
Correct.
he
Hats off
sealed.
from the third man musings on that brave call. Hello everyone, and welcome to a new video on the Third Man Musings. So in our previous video, we had quite an intense discussion on our two favorite sites, MI and RCB. Please do go and watch that video if you have not watched it yet, because there were some really good points that we discussed, and we would love to hear your thoughts on RCB and MI. In today's video, we'll be covering three other sites, which will be RR, KKR, and LSG, which while they had some good moments during the course of the season, they couldn't quite capitalize on the opportunities that they had, and didn't expect where they would have ideally wanted to in the season. So, Sumit, as we begin our discussion on the three sides, which side would we like to start off with first?
So let's go with an underrated side, which was, I think, hampered by a big injury setback like Delhi Capitals. So they missed their captain. So we'll start with KKR. So Shreyas Iyer missed out sadly due to a back injury and out for the season, out for the WTC final as well. So missing your captain, who is an Indian batter, is a big, big loss for any team, especially Shreyas, who's a pretty good batter, white ball batter at least, I would say. So you're missing your captain and a very good Indian batter. So finding a substitute is always going to be a challenge, like we saw for DC. So despite that, KKR, funnily enough, had three very good Indian batters who racked up very good numbers. So
Mhm.
Rinku Singh got around nearly 500, even though he batted at five majorly. Nitish Rana found his form by the end of the season. He contributed 400 runs, and Venki Iyer had a good season. I remember we discussed how the second season syndrome hit him last time. This season, he was an impact player. I don't know where his bowling went. Apparently, he was the next option
Next
after
all
Pandya.
rounder after Hardik Pandya, right?
Yeah, so he doesn't bowl anymore. So one more batter who stopped bowling after batting. Another story of Indian cricket. So these three gave a lot of runs. I mean, Nitish, I would have expected 400, I'll be honest, but other two were bonuses. And then I think one player who will embody this season for KKR is Rinku Singh. I
He
mean,
was a
that
star of the IPL. Yeah.
31 runs in 1 over. I don't think we'll see it ever again. If we are we'll be pretty lucky to see it again, but this guy became the Terminator. He was like whenever he was there, there was this hope right at the end that okay, Rinku hai to kuch bhi ho jayega. Crowds are shouting Rinku, Rinku, Rinku. So it was one of the most heartwarming stories. I really enjoyed the way he batted, his attitude, and good batsman. He can
Hmm.
play. He's not a slogger. He can slog, but he's a proper batsman. He can also play that consolidation game when required. So very good find for KKR and for Indian cricket also. I would be, I would say that give this guy a chance because he looks the deal, the mental attitude, and
Right. And
just
very humble also, right? I
yeah,
never
yeah,
see
that's
him
what
come across
endearing
as
quality.
arrogant, always
Mm.
willing to learn. And now there is an interesting saying: if there are 18 runs needed of the last three balls, the
The
pressure is on
pressure.
the bowler. So you can imagine the kind of impact he's had on this IPL, really.
I remember the other joke to that. If there are 36 runs required of six balls, the pressure is on Chris Jordan.
I would like to see a face-off between Jordan and Rinku Singh sometime.
It was
That would
obvious it
be
was going to win that,
fascinating.
right?
Yeah.
I think Rinku might just get surprised how what a crab bowler this guy is. And yeah, I wish it was not Yash Dal. I feel bad for that guy, by the way.
Hmm.
Young
Hmm.
talent, poor guy had to be taken out for some time to recover from that.
You're
I
right.
wish it was Jordan. At least he would have been thrown out then at the right time. So coming back, Jordan is a bad topic. Like gives me like a bad trip always. So coming to so the batting worked
Hmm.
surprisingly. Now, what was the problem? I think the number one problem, the openers. How many combinations were there? I have lost count.
I think, count at least six, seven combinations. I think they had Gurbaz and they started with, I think, Gurbaz and Bandeep. Then it went to Gurbaz and Venkatesh
Jag-
Iyer. Then we
uh,
had Gurbaz and who
Jagdishan.
Jagdishan. Then we had Litton Das and Gurbaz. Then we had Gurbaz and Jason
Roy.
Roy. So there were lots of combinations, and I think on an average, every two matches the
Yes.
opening pair was getting changed, right? So that was really uncertain, and I think by the end of it, they kind of went with Jason Roy, which was fair because Jason Roy
It
has
was
this
X factor.
propensity to get quick runs, and he was kind of consistent at the fag end of it. So that was one promising thing that came out of it. But the others were Gurbaz, I know, had a couple of sparks, but other than that, pretty inconsistent, I would say. And the other big issue was the pace bowling, right? While the
Oh,
spinners ruled the roost, the three spinners, were a fantastic trio at the Eden Gardens. But I think start of the tournament, Umesh Yadav and Saudi were getting hit. Then Ferguson came in, even he got hit. Shardul Thakur also was getting
kept
hit.
getting hit.
Then they lost faith in him. And finally, in the last stretch, I think they placed some faith in Harshit and
Weber.
Weber Aurora, but even they were expensive. So the pace bowling was a big Achilles heel for them.
So the only positive in the bowling was Varun, as you mentioned. He got 20 wickets and he bowled all the tough overs. I mean, his
Hmm.
economy was in eight and a half or something, but he bowled the toughest overs. Narayan got the easy overs this time because he wasn't really in rhythm, but still he did a decent job. But one, I think, glaring thing was his batting. It completely went off the rails. There
Hmm.
was no batting from Narayan this season, not
Correct.
even those odd 2, 3 innings of 20 of 10
Hmm.
which
Yeah.
used to help out KKR in desperate times.
True.
So they found the Suyesh guy very interesting. We discussed right the whole Paul Adams and Imran Tahir and I don't know how many bowlers into this one rolled into one bowler. And by the end, people figured him out. He was like a poor man's Ravi Bishnoi, I guess. So kept going and googly. But loved his attitude though. We had
Hmm.
like a lot of aggression for a spin bowler.
Yeah, and
And so
enthusiastic also, at least. So
so I think they will try to retain him. I think if he's smart, he'll say just send me in the auctions because he'll get good money if
yeah.
he
Hmm.
comes now. A lot of people looking for Indian spinners, right? So all in all, the batting clicked to a degree. Roy came in, but there was something missing. I think that something missing was the partner to Rinku, who ideally
Hmm.
should have been Russell, but Russell got 200 odd runs, but it was not
Hmm.
the Russell of old. Again, the same story. I think a very big parallel to Rohit Sharma. I mean, even Russell has won you some matches every season, but
You're right.
the consistency has really gone down. He's
Hmm.
forever injury prone. If he dives, it's a scare for the entire ground. What will happen to this guy if he'll ever
Yeah.
wake up from there? And everybody's like running. Then he wakes up, he walks with a limp and everything. So I think coming to next season,
Hmm.
what can they do? What should do? I think the major question will be on these two
Correct.
legends they have, Sunil
True.
Narayan, Andre Russell. What do you think? I mean, should they replace both, or should they just go with the phased approach, one by one? Take them out.
It's so tough, right? Because now certain franchises are known by certain legends, right? And let's be
Hmm.
fair, I think both have done a lot for KKR, right? A lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
matches they've won single-handedly. Russell for years used to opposition bowlers used to fear him, that even if there was a lot of runs to be made, the minute Russell came in, everybody used to get tense, right? And Narayan also, you remember so many economical spells of
Imagine.
him, right? 4 overs, maybe 15 runs, 2 wickets, or something like that. So, but now let's be practical. I think the time might be at least one might have to be axed, right? And because why I'm saying this is because they have Vijay in the ranks. Now, if they didn't have a
Yes.
good all-rounder, I would still say okay, there's one season before the mega rehaul, so at least back them. But Vijay being such an underrated cricketer, but such an effective cricketer, he's a good finisher and he's a good guy who can give 2-3 overs
Two
on a
overs at least.
on an
He,
average
and, he's,
basis,
and
right?
he's fit always. So he'll give you those two
Correct. He's
overs.
fit also. He
Mm,
looks very
mm,
strong. So
mm.
maybe it's time they have to choose between one and get Vise into their playing 11. But your thoughts? If I were to put you in that tough position, imagine you're KKR owner
Oh my
and
God.
you have to make a decision.
I would definitely like you have a visa in your ranks. Give
Mm,
him a go. Give Russell a lot of opportunities. Give that amount of visa. He'll give you better returns if not same. 'Cause Russell, the fear factor is also gone. You could see how the finishing now used to be done by Rinku. Russell would take the single and let Rinku finish. So you have somebody who is doing the role of Russell now. So you can find somebody. Narayan, I would say give him one more season because
mm,
ultimately he still has given you less runs, less than 8 per over, gave you
mm,
11 wickets. The main problem has been not able to not being able to take wickets through the paces as you mentioned, so they
mm.
need to get some paces in, which brings me
Correct.
to the auction part of it. They did this very weird thing where they bought, not didn't buy actually, they traded two players, Loki and
Mm.
Shardul, for 10 crores. So they were really hampered when they went to the auctions
They had the
where they
lowest budget, in fact, right? Hardly seven
they
or
didn't
eight
raise the
crores, I think.
panel.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So they couldn't raise the panel and they were just waiting to take some players here and there on a bargain.
Mm, mm,
So definitely Loki wasn't used, so clearly they don't rate him highly. Remove him. And Shardul, ideally I would have loved to see him because
mm.
ultimately this guy plays with a lot of heart. I know his bowling is such that he gets hit, but he gets wickets. And
Hmm.
then I think that was against RCB, right? His batting miracle. He played
You're
one
right,
very
right, right.
brilliant innings. I remember
He hit.
last
I
year,
think KKR was 90 for 5, and then he resurrected it to a good total, which they
nearly
eventually
200.
defended. Yeah.
Uh, So he's somebody you keep in a team. I mean, considering this is IPL and your Indian talent is so less, you have to give such people a go, even though they might not be performing. And then see, he will contribute somewhere, bad ball, something he'll do. So I
Hmm.
didn't get why he was axed so soon. And but considering you paid 10 crores, so maybe if you don't want to play him, I'm sure a lot of teams will run for this guy because of the skill
Hmm.
set he has. Then
Hmm.
might as well create 20 crores here, and Russell will give you another, I think, 8 crores
Yeah.
retention value he had, I believe.
Right.
So you get 27 8 crores there only, plus the normal budget that BCI gives every auction.
Hmm.
30 35 crores you can easily have when you go to an auction by just releasing these three people.
Right.
So they should definitely think on. I think the base is good. I mean, one thing I always say is the Indian core, right? The
Yeah.
Indian batting core is actually pretty good now.
It
Once
is.
Iyer
Yeah.
also comes in, it's four
Hmm.
good players in the top seven,
Correct.
so
Correct.
they can have the luxury to play two foreign bowlers also.
Right.
So
And one point I wanted to discuss with you, Sumit, and get your thoughts was because I feel this is another area where KKR struggles, right? Now, their three spinners are fantastic in Eden Gardens. But the minute they go outside the Eden Gardens, they get hit, right? And that is because they don't have a well rounded bowling attack, they don't have good Indian paces.
yeah,
So maybe next auction, try to find some good Indian paces who can help them compete outside the Eden Gardens as well.
or talk to the pitch curator in Eden Garden and create a minefield. That's another option. So then you have 8 matches at home, 8 or 7, and you win 5 of them. Then you have to win three only on the road because normally 16 is good enough. So you can go either ways. So that is a cheap way, which I'm saying, where you don't spend a lot of money and you can still make a pitch. And this was funny, right? Delhi was playing on a Eden wicket, and they were playing because this time kicker wicket was good for batting. I won't say it was like a
Yeah,
spin
yeah. It
wicket.
wasn't a minefield. It
So
wasn't.
Delhi would have loved to play
Yeah,
like a typical
Delhi.
KK, like
Yeah,
Gambhir's time. I remember he created that CSK template team. I remember Bhatia
correct.
was there and the spinners were there. So that was one option, the cheaper option I suggested. And the other is obviously get some paces. The problem is again with these mini auctions, very tough to get good talent. You have to find people like they again MI does Akash Matwal. You find some Indian pacer, and then you have to give him that exposure and room to fail also. Foreign pacers, I'm sure there'll be every year you see every foreign a lot of foreign pacers come, so they
Mhm.
need to pick it smartly. I don't know Saudi how whoever thinks he's like the New Zealand's Chris Jordan always gets hit in white ball. Good test match
Mhm.
bowler with his outswingers. So
Correct.
look, look, he was
His
obviously a
go
good,
to length is very hittable in T20s. That's the
exactly.
problem. Yeah. Maybe
So
release him also. Right?
huh, get a
Yeah.
gun foreign bowler and one Indian pacer you need. Or
Mm.
groom this Harshit Rana or Weber. They
Mm.
have the good thing of this side is again not much to do. They actually need to
Mm.
release players, get some people in, and with the combination they said, I think they're pretty good for next season to
Correct. Correct.
compete.
The point
So
that you mentioned sticks with me. The Indian core is good, just that some tinkerings in terms of the Indian bowlers, and they need a good foreign pacer, right? Then I think it should be fine. And release maybe one between Russell and Narayan.
definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's see next season how this goes post the auction. So next one is Rajasthan Royals. So this one a bit of a controversial team because we had actually thought they won't make it to a top four, and it worked out. And it was on the simple premise that Butler had a freak season last year. He scored I think, 800 runs or something. But as soon as he used to get out,
860.
they
Yeah.
were the one that Gill broke actually this season, right?
Correct.
Same
Correct.
record, huh? So that was the fear. If you could repeat that, so if you could not, there would have been problems, and that's what happened. And this team, I think, probably had drinks with Punjab team or something, because in the last 6 games they lost four of them. So it's like they also hit the axe on the foot or foot on the axe, whatever way you want to take it. They were a good team, and they this team is actually funny in a very weird way because they did not use the impact player rule very well. They kept playing the same formula they played last season, thinking it'll work, and we'll play the impact player if needed. They did not maximize the advantage of an extra batter or a bowler, and then they lost some very crunch matches. So some matches which come to mind, which I'm sure you also remember. One was that
Correct.
SRH one. That was a killer
Hmm.
match. Glenn Phillips came and first time ever, I think, a guy who played 7 balls got a man of the match because he scored 28 or something.
Yeah.
So that was a freak match. And
Hmm.
MI, they should have won, but they bowled Holder in the end. And I remember David hitting 3 balls for
Three
18 runs,
sixes, right? Yeah.
and they won that. Last one I think you would enjoy the most was the RCB one.
Yeah,
So
that was a total blowout, right? I mean, first of all, RCB also was struggling on that pitch and somehow managed to make 168. Now, Rajasthan, all they had to do was okay, go for the target. If you're not able to, I mean, that pitch was tough. Let's be honest, it was a tough pitch. It was a slow pitch and, it was gripping. But at least you should have got close to 140, 150, right? The shots were so awkward. I mean, everybody looked like they immediately wanted to rush back to
want
the
to play.
pavilion, kept slogging and shot out for 59 in 10 overs, right? If I remember. So that hurt them a lot. I mean, first of all, Bangalore's net run rate was way down in
Way
negative. That
down.
came to positive. And Rajasthan's advantage also, they had a very good net run rate. They still were in positive, but it came down. Big time, and they also lost momentum. Another point I wanted to discuss was the sudden bad phase certain players hit in the second phase, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hedmar
Good.
had a string of single digit scores in the second half after a very bright start in the first half of the IPL. Butler had 5 ducks. Granted, he scored 390 runs odd, I think, but 5 ducks, right? And then Sanju Samson again, very good innings in the first half of the IPL.
First
Again,
up.
second half, the familiar dip that we see. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things. I mean, the batting really took a dip. I think Jaiswal, obviously the shining light, 625 runs. He was great. Dhruv Jurel continued to impress
Good
throughout the
fan.
season. And
Mm.
another player, I think they will be disappointed with this Padikkal, right? Because he just
Oh
looked
yeah.
out of sorts in that middle order. So the only bright spots were the trio, right? Ashwin, Chahal, and Zampa. I think they continue to impress throughout, and Trent Bolt was good with the new ball. And Jason Holder, I think in the auction
Mm.
we were happy that they finally
They
got an
filled
all-rounder
that gap.
because
Mm.
this is one team which plays
Mm-hmm.
specialists, right? The six batsmen can't bowl, the five bowlers can't bat. So
Yes.
Jason Holder was the key to hold both pieces together, but he went totally off the boil, and they'll have to look at a good overseas all rounder next year for
Mm.
sure for the side's balance.
Or get a specialist bowler and use the impact player rule better,
Mhm.
because Jason Holder would have been a good choice for a normal IPL. But as soon as the impact player came, your all rounders were actually with shortchanged. So
Mhm.
they could not have predicted. I don't know if this rule was told to the franchises before the option. Not aware of that, so I
Mhm.
can't comment on that. But definitely, Holder should have gotten. He is not a death bowler. I think that's something they should have understood, but they still tried him out. The problem we discussed the same, that the death
Correct.
bowling is going to be a problem for this team, because
Yeah.
even Prasidh wasn't a death bowler. Bolt is decent, but he also has his bad days. So
Mhm.
they were very reliant on Chahar and Ashwin, and they did a good
Mhm.
job as expected. Uh, they played Zampa on pitches where there was spin, so Zampa also contributed. He's a very good
Mhm.
white ball bowler, so it was
He's a
expected.
good one. Yeah.
So ultimately, they found Sandeep Sharma. That was again one of the surprise of the tournament, that
Mhm.
they got him as a replacement at base price, and he became one of the fixtures. At least that death bowling, he was handling one end. He was
Correct.
decent. I won't say great, because he did one match against Chennai. I will credit him totally, because
Mhm.
it
Mhm.
was very difficult to stop Chennai in the last over chase. He did it, so
Correct.
respect him for that. But then he
Correct.
screwed up with the whole SRH match, unfortunately.
Correct.
And that
Correct.
match would have taken them to 16 if you think about it, and they would have been through,
Mhm.
because the net and they were so much ahead of Mumbai Indians also, right?
Yeah.
So barring this is special note for Jaiswal, because yeah, I
Mhm.
remember last season he did not play so well. He's one of the players they retained at 4 or 5 crores. So they saw that potential, they backed him, and they were brave enough to tell DDP, who was kind of a star from RCB, that
Mhm.
no, you're not going to open, you will play in the middle order, or you'll play a three. We are not moving Jaiswal. So sometimes this is what we discuss, right, in terms of culture and how teams like Punjab and all should learn. You identify a talent, give him the full opportunity, and this is the season where Jaiswal repaid the faith.
Yeah.
Now he's knocking on the doors of the Indian T20 team, at least, that okay,
Correct.
this is swashbuckling left-hander with 620 runs, and those
Yeah.
that innings against Mumbai will be one of the
Yeah.
best innings in the IPL, along with Gill's
Yeah.
innings. I think they are
Magical. It was magical.
magical.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they lost that match because of that very bad bowling by Holder and everything. Didn't deserve to lose.
Correct.
So for next season, I would say, uh, as you said, release Holder, because that cost you 8 crores. And I don't know if Root has a future. Poor guy. I mean, he doesn't get a gig anytime. So maybe release him, get more 2 crores. And
Mm.
this fascination with Rian Parag, my God. I mean, don't understand what is this love affair where they accommodated him by making him an impact player. I'm like, he made less than 100 runs, I think, in the entire IPL. He was
Yeah.
promoted also कि भाई तुम जाओ कुछ रन बना लो, इज्जत रख लो, तब से खिला रहे हैं. I don't even remember since when Riyan Parag is playing,
Yeah.
but
3 or 4 years
currently,
at least, right? Yeah.
at
3 years
least,
at least. Yeah.
domestically he does
Mm.
decently. I have nothing in that sort, but too
Mm.
much patience है, right? I mean,
Mm.
या तो इतना है तो you give him like number three slot only. See कितना talent है, but he doesn't bowl that much. He bats also so low. Then he doesn't play well there also. So
Right.
and they can actually let him be in the auction. He'll come back for base price again. Nobody buys him, so
Mm.
it's a very
Mm.
safe strategy. He'll come cheap always.
Right.
So uh, it's a good side again. They just need to put some special. Definitely a death bowler. I think that's the number one
Mm.
requirement, because your
That's what
Kuldeep
I think.
Singh, Kuldeep
Releasing
Yadav,
Holder and focusing on getting a death bowler, right?
death bowler
Hopefully
for a
not
death
Jordan.
bowler.
Hopefully not Jordan.
Oh my god. We should hope, at least for MIRCB's sake, that okay, let Jordan go there. But huh, they have 8 crores is a lot for a foreign fast
Mm.
bowler. I mean, not
Mm.
Stark level, but definitely get some decent guy there. The
Correct.
funny thing is how Kuldeep Singh did not pick up from last
That
year.
that was a big one for me. Yeah,
They have
especially in Prasid's absence, right? I think in a
that was
preview we thought that Kuldeep Sen will be
will
that
be the next
differentiator
one.
as an Indian bowler. Yeah,
They have the legendary Navdeep Saini also, if you don't remember. So
to his credit, I think in one match, the last
what
match he did well, right? He did well
last
in
match?
the last match. Yeah,
I
he got
remember
three
in
wickets. Yeah.
I think in one match he played as an impact player, and last over they needed incredible amount of runs, which were not
Mm.
achievable. This guy still gave 20 plus, kept getting hit. And I'm like, net run भी खराब कर दी उसने बैठे बैठे. So they didn't pay him after that. Like, leave it, bhai, तुम्हारे बस का नहीं है. So that guy has been like a massive downfall, being
Mm.
from RCB's best bowler, who used to carry them the death, to now being like very surplus to requirements. So they
Mm.
don't have any Indian bowler. Again, one of the problems, right? Finding Indian pace bowling is very difficult, anyways.
Mm.
So let's see who they can find or
Mm.
scout as a talent. and go there. So yeah, we can go to the last team, which is Lucknow Super Giants. So they will be forever remembered in this IPL for that fight with Kohli and all the memes and all the posts that Naveen posted about mangoes, and then Mumbai Indians, funnily enough, after beating them, shared a meme where three of them were around the table and doing with the mangoes. So good to see everybody was against him for Kohli. I think he learns his lesson, and somewhere Gambhir also needs to calm down a
Yeah.
bit. He's not a player anymore that he keeps fighting. Where he wears a jersey, field pack, ladai bhi karna hai. He said, be like a Nehra, be chill. I mean, interfere, but be chill, right? Nehra ji is like fun like that. Gambhir, if your mentor does that, you are bound to do it. The
Hmm.
youngsters, right? So don't. That
True.
culture was a big problem. Coming to the good things, they had the best foreigners, I think, in this IPL. If I
Hmm.
compare all the teams, the amount of consistency their foreigners have, and credit to them for Pooran. I think that's one thing we discussed in our auction analysis, that who spends 16 crores on Nicholas Pooran? Well, that punt really worked because they
Correct.
found this role for him at number six that you go and just hit. You don't
Yeah.
need to worry about anything in life. So he gave it in that 360 runs at around 170, 180 strike rate. Incredible. So
Correct.
he
Hats off
sealed.
from the third man musings on that brave call.
Yeah, we got that
Really.
wrong.
Yeah. We do, our hats off on that call.
So Stoinis was a good retention when they got him initially, when they were finding that initial bank of three players. So Stoinis with Rahul and Vishnu, I think they got in the initial
Hmm.
round.
Right.
Mayers was a surprise. Initial first half, brilliant start. But then I think as soon as Quinton de Kock flew in, there was always this doubt. I think for both players, and that's what insecurity does. I think they should have taken a call either ways. Tell Mayers you are fixed for the entire season, or tell de Kock that okay, you will play now. What they did was a bit of a middling business, which
Hmm.
impacted both. Mayers could not score in the second half. Despite that, he's the third highest scorer. And de
Correct.
Kock, I think, played one innings properly. After that, he
Right.
wasn't playing.
Right. And Myers, I think it also had to do with the slowing pitches in the
Wickets,
second half,
second half.
right? Because if you see his game, it depends a lot on the pitch being a belter and he can just play through the
It's like
line, right? Not a
Chris
person
Gayle,
with a
right?
lot of footwork. Yeah, he reminds you a lot of Chris Gale.
Chris Gayle, yeah.
So I think that also there was a factor. I think, but Decock, I think once he was back, needed to get more games. I think that was an emerging theme which came out, after the tournament at least.
And coming to the batting, who was the fourth highest run scorer for LSG? You have a guess?
Uh, Probably Rahul because he played a lot of slow innings, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Rahul played 9 matches. That's what's the end of the IPL. He got 274 runs. Strike rate of 113, which I think was not even the top 10 of the entire team when you do the analysis of strike rates. So it just showed you how bad the Indian talent was in this side in terms of the batting, because their worst Indian batter was the captain who went, and then nobody else stepped up. And in the end, poor Ayush Badoni scored 250 odd runs. Good striker, and really one of the talented players they have, who they
True.
continue to ignore for some
Hmm.
reason. He's pissed off somebody, I don't know who, but he will never get a promotion. He played that very good innings against Chennai in that match, which got rained out. He played a very good 50 in a very difficult situation. So he's one to watch out for the future. Uh, Huda, I don't know what happened to him. I was a bit stunned with his numbers. It's 84 runs in 12 matches. Like, पता नहीं क्या खाया, क्या पिया. I mean, yeah, the latter might be true. I mean, what happened to him? Still beyond me. इतना खराब कैसे खेल सकता है कोई? And he was tried everywhere. Opening, 3, 4, 6.
Hmm.
एंड में तो स्टोइनिस को रन आउट भी करा दिया उसने कि भाई मैं सब करूंगा. मैं सब गड़बड़ करूंगा जो कर सकता हूँ. So he lost them that eliminator also against MI. Stoinis was the only one who could have carried them. वो भी रन आउट करा
Correct.
दिया. फिर खुद भी
Correct.
हो गया रन आउट. So the Indian batting just completely flopped, left, right, center, and that's why it's a miracle they went through still. I think Stoinis and Pooran
True.
were just so
Stoinis
magical.
and Puran just propelled them with their brute force, right? Because otherwise, if you see Krunal Pandya, Rahul, only
But on
Badoni, as you said,
but he was
had
good. Haan,
sparks,
sorry,
but
Huda.
even he was inconsistent, and Huda had an
हाँ,
abysmal season. So, even if you look at it, Bishnoi didn't have a great season, right? He had a
hmm,
decent season, but not
हाँ,
a great season, so to say.
but
Like, last year. And then Mohsin unfortunately came in only for the
Mm.
back half. I think that and
That
Mark
one
Wood, the
magical
biggest
one. Oh,
differentiator they had was Mark Wood. Played 4 games. Yeah, he had a 5 wicket haul against DC, right, where
Delhi.
he blew Prithvi Shaw stumps, got Sarfaraz,
Mm.
ducking and all that.
And Mitchell Marsh
And
also.
then, I
He had a,
think he flew for the birth of his daughter, is what we read. But I
mm,
don't know why he took a month off and went there, and why didn't he
I
come
don't think
back?
he.
Yeah,
I have a feeling he didn't come back. I didn't see him in the dugout, and then I
yeah,
think Naveen took over. The pitches were slow, so they decided, and that is when the Rahul injury happened. So they were then playing with four foreign batters because the Indian
hmm,
batting was same DC problem. The Indian batting was just not working, so they played Decock, Mayers, Stoinis, Puran, and an entire Indian bowling contingent. And then they realized
hmm,
they need Naveen for the slow pitches. So
correct.
I think he might have not even returned because they might have said कि रह जाओ अब क्या फायदा
Yeah,
wages भी
but
पैसे बचते हैं ना तो
correct.
just
No,
start
but
paid leave.
weird, right? He was somebody who was a differentiator
X
with the
factor, yeah.
ball. I know, I mean, on slow pitches, maybe he's not that effective with the ball comes onto the bat, so to just time it. But at least you needed somebody who could break the, backbone of a batting lineup. So
X
that
factor
was
enforcer,
that
right? Something like
that
Umran could have
was
been.
yeah
So
weird. Yeah.
I agree. And in the end, they found a good bowler in Yash Thakur, like a death bowler who'd bowl good Yorkers. So they did find also some new talent.
Mm.
Mohsin bowled that magical 1 over where
Mm.
nobody could hit him. I forgot the opposition. There's so many matches in my head. It was in Mumbai, uh, where Mumbai. It was Mumbai LSG in the league stage when Mumbai had to. I remember this. It was like one of those do or die matches, and Mumbai lost because they could not chase it down, and Mohsin bowled
Correct.
immense Yorkers to Tim David. So Avesh lost form. Again, one of those people who need to have a look because I think the attitude is a bit of a problem. I have this
Correct.
bad feeling from him because even that one match against RCB,
Yeah.
he did jack shit. I mean, he did
Mm.
nothing. then he just and he missed a ball. It was just because
Yeah.
DK screwed up that
Correct.
they were able to win that match. And then he's throwing his helmet and being like, "I
Yeah.
won the match" or something. That was like,
Correct.
again, your mentor has to control these things. I think your mentor only does all this so that
Somebody
when
has
you
to
come.
control the mentor first. No.
राहुल की कौन सुनता है वो बेचारा वो तो आई थिंक
Poor
ही गॉट
guy.
अ ब्रेक एट द राइट टाइम आई थिंक ही माइट कम बैक बेटर आई होप आफ्टर द सर्जरी तो next season do you this is actually a very good team we keep making fun based on the attitude and everything but
Correct.
actually it's a very good team if
Yeah,
Rahul
and
plays like Rahul so yeah
and you see,
so
both times since they have come into the IPL, both times
and
they have
qualified
qualified for the playoffs. So what
it's
more
a big
can
deal
you ask, right? Just that I think everybody has to come back into form next year. Rahul has to get into that mold, mindset that he needs to attack, right? Now,
mm.
even if he, let's say, flops, there is enough quality in that middle order. Stoinis, Puran, and definitely I'm sure that Pandya, Huda, and all these guys will not have a bad season again next year. Hopefully they'll have a better season, and Bishnoi is there in the middle order as well. So that they need to really focus on, and Decock needs to play more games, I
No.
feel. Now, how they will shuffle that, will Myers get a go, is something they'll have to see. But I feel that guy is such an impact at the top of the order. You just can't have him sitting in the dugout. And please play Mark Wood next season. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
Ashes next year, there's no ODI World Cup next year. So you can, Aram say out of those 14 games, at least 10 games you should play him for sure.
And I'm sure out of 14, you will have those bad pitches for at least five, six of them. So you don't play him there. Then you play Naveen.
Yeah, right.
But you play smartly, right? You have this asset which you didn't use. You got 11 wickets in 4 matches, by the way.
Mm.
Then, whatever, there's a personal reason that's
Mm.
understandable. But I really think he wasn't called upon later. If he could have come, but
Correct.
they were stuck with Naveen for some reason.
Correct. And
So
Pandya needs to bat in the middle order, 5-6, not 3.
yeah,
Yeah.
he shouldn't be a
Yeah.
captain only. I mean, that's the problem. This captaincy gap, again, Rahul chala gaya to kaun tha? Again, think about it. There was nobody
There's
unless you go
nobody.
for a
Yeah.
foreign captain. So they had to go with somebody who
Stoinis maybe, but then, Stoinis
difficult.
maybe they weren't
Mm.
too sure, right? Yeah.
Huh. Krunal does captain in Ranji,
Mm.
so they were going with
Correct.
somebody who knows the captaincy reins. So all in all, decent side. I think they just made headlines for the wrong reasons. I think this IPL you will not remember them for anything else other than that saga. And
Right.
Stoinis and Puran for some magical innings they played. I think that's all I can recall. And Rahul
Correct.
just struggling through and through. Let's hope. for his sake, for Indian cricket's sake, he comes back stronger, and the old Rahul who would play faster.
Correct.
So yeah, they don't need much. I think they're also good to go for next year.
Correct, correct.
Mm.
Even if let's say they don't bring in any player or don't release any player, they're still good. I mean, they will still compete and do well. So yeah, let's see what is in store. So on that note, folks, so we have covered three more teams in this review that ensures that we have now completed eight teams, and now we have the final review left only for the two finalists. CSK and GT. So do look forward to our review on that, and with that we'll be completing the team reviews for all the 10 teams. Do let us know your thoughts. We wanted to do this review series specially for all the 10 teams because we wanted to share our thoughts on what went well, what didn't go well, and mainly we wanted to share our thoughts on what they can do next season because that is something which involves strategy and we like to apply our cricketing minds to that. But please do let us know your thoughts, any interesting picks that you feel any teams can make going into next year's auction. We'll be glad to hear that. So on that note, look forward to our final video on GT and CSK, and do like, share, comment and subscribe as your love means a lot to us. So till the next video, take care and stay safe.
Thank you.